Coyote waited through the day and watched as night fell and two of the beans went off to the teepee to sleep. He watched as they changed over at certain times all the night long, until at last the dawn winds rose. Then the bean on guard called, "Sister, sister, get up and watch the fire." And the bean, whose turn it was, climbed slow and sleepy from her bed, saying, "Yes, yes, I'm coming. Do not shout." But before she could come out of the teepee, Coyote lunged from the bushes, snatched a glowing portion of the fire, and sprang away down the mountainside. Screaming, the fire beans flew after him. Swift as the coyote ran, they caught up with him, and one of them reached out with a clutching hand. Her fingers touched only the tip of the tail, but the torch was enough to turn the hairs white, and Coyote tail tips were still white. Coyote shouted and flung the fire away from him, but the others of the people had gathered at the mountain's foot in case they were needed. Squirrel saw the fire falling and caught it, putting it back and fleeing away through the treetops. The fire scorched her back so painfully that her tail curled up and back as squirrels' tails do today. The fire beans then persuaded Squirrel, who threw the fire to Chipmunk, chattering with fear. Chipmunk stood still as if rooted until the beans were almost upon her. Then, as she turned to run, one bean clawed at her, tearing down the length of her back and leaving 3 stripes that are to be seen on Chipmunk's backs even today. Chipmunk threw the fire to Frog, and the beans turned toward him. One of the beans grasped his tail, but Frog gave a mighty leap and tore himself free, leaving his tail behind in the beans' hands, which is why frogs don't have tails ever since. As the beans came after him, Frog flung the fire on the wood, and wood swallowed it. The fire beans gathered around, but they did not know how to get the fire out of the wood. They promised it gifts, sang to it, and shouted at it. They twisted it and struck it and tore it with their knives, but wood did not give up the fire. In the end, defeated, the beans went back to their mountaintop and left the people alone. But Coyote knew how to get the fire out of the wood, and he went back to the village of men and showed them how. He showed them the trick of rubbing 2 dry sticks together, and the trick of spinning a sharpened stick in a hole made by another piece of wood. So man was from then on warm and safe through the killing cold of winter.